Thanks for joining me on episode 823 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Rob Berger, author of Retire Before Mom and Dad. I encourage you to find your own journey to true financial freedom. And one way to be inspired to do that is by listening to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader.
About you only get to do the things that you love to do and you never have to do the chores that you hate. That's not what I'm talking about. This isn't about you ignore the laundry until it piles up into a pile the height of the ceiling so that you can go out and party all day. No, I'm talking about doing hard things. I'm talking about doing things that you sometimes don't enjoy. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. In today's episode about investing in others by stewarding your time, I talk with you about the way you need to value your time. And I share why being busy isn't really an example of valuing your time. And I also share how your values should be seen by others. As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon. Time. The truth is, most of us do not value our time as well as we should. And by doing this, by talking about this, what I mean is we think of our time as just something that we spend. It's something that we use to do things, to get what we want, to generate activity, whatever it is. But the truth is, if you look up and you think about how you use your time, more often than not, we don't really value it. In business, this shows up sometimes very clearly. People will think about what they do and how much it's worth, and they tend to undervalue the skills and the abilities that they actually have. They tend to undervalue the work that they do and what it's worth to other human beings. Instead, think also about it as a person or as a person. If you think about how you spend your time in the day, when somebody else asks you, can you do something? And it means sacrificing things that are very important to you. More often than not, we're tempted to say yes without thinking about the sacrifice and what we're trading off. But then often that spills over and we end up spending time doing things and saying yes to things that aren't what we want to spend our time doing. See, the truth is, what's happened in modern culture is we've come about to valuing busy. We recognize that everyone's busy, and we talk about busy as if it is something that we should brag about. I'm busy. That's the most common answer to the question about what's going on. Things are really busy. But by saying that, sometimes what you're indicating is how little you actually value your own time, because you filled up your time with things that often are not really that important to you. Oftentimes, by cutting out some things that you need to say no to, you create the freedom to spend the time doing what you really want to be doing. And the funny thing is, you may use as many hours on the clock, you may do as many things during the day, but suddenly it doesn't feel like you're busy anymore. It feels like you're doing the things that matter. It feels like you're stepping out and getting more done. It feels more productive because, remember, it's not about how much, it's about how much you value what you spend your time on that has us reflect and recognize the time that we're spent. This is true. If you're getting to do something that you really love to do, it feels like time passes in an instant. But if you're having to do something that's a chore, something that you don't enjoy, it feels like time takes forever. time is relative in more than just the ways that Einstein talked about. Our perception of time has a lot to do with our emotional state. And just being busy for the sake of being busy, that badge of busyness, is not really valuing your time. It's not paying attention to how that time is impacting you and your life and your family and others. And the truth is, you have to live that out. I'm a productivity person. If I end up spending a lot of my time and energy and wasting it on non-productive things, and then turn around and tell other people not to do that, people will see that. And if they don't see me walking the walk that I'm talking, I lose all ability to really be valuable. I lose all ability to be authentic. I can't really help anyone else because I can't even help myself. And by the way, the truth is, in that case, one of the things that I do is I seek support from others as well, because the truth is, none of us can really do it completely alone. We all need the support of others on this journey. We need the ability to look to others to help us. We need that accountability. We need that support. We need the ideas. We need the energy. And that includes me. Because your values have to be lived out each and every day, including how you spend the time that you have. Because time is related to our energy. Time is related to our self-worth. How we spend our time and energy makes us literally change our health and well-being mentally and physically. And this isn't about you only get to do the things that you love to do and you never have to do the chores that you hate. That's not what I'm talking about. This isn't about you ignore the laundry until it piles up into a pile the height of the ceiling so that you can go out and party all day. No, I'm talking about doing hard things. I'm talking about doing things that you sometimes don't enjoy. But I'm talking about having intentionality about where you spend your time, because you recognize the value that time has to you and to others, and you spend it where it's most important. You spend it not on more things, but on the right things. And that can be really hard to do, but it's actually incredibly valuable, not just to you, but to the people around you. Because as you do that, as you walk that walk, other people are attracted by that, because it's incredibly unusual in today. Most people just worship at the altar of busy. They don't really value their time. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 time tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.